Hey YouTubers, this is Jerry from All Phase Auto. I got a 2018 Nissan NV2500. We're going to do rear pads and rotors. This one's kind of tricky because it has this caliber bolt that there's really no space in here to get a socket. So it's a little tricky, but we're gonna knock this out. First thing you want to do is right where the caliper bolt is, you got these rubber boots. There's one here and then up top there. So what I do, I usually take a little pick like this and just kind of stick it in there and pop it out. So I'm going to pop those out real quick and then we'll get right back to it. Okay, the next step is we got those boots out. So there's an Allen bolt in there. There's one up here too, but we're not going to be able to get to that one yet. So the next thing we're going to do is take this one out. So it's a 10mm Allen. You can either use a ratchet with a 10mm Allen, or what I'm going to do, I got set up on an impact gun there, and I'm going to zap that bolt out real quick. Okay, so we got this Allen bolt out. Now there's another caliber bracket bolt right there. It's a 24mm socket. I'm going to zap that out. There's one up here too, and I'm going to zap that out. Again, you can use a ratchet and a 24mm, but I'm going to be using this impact where I got a swivel and a 24mm. So I'm going to zap those two bolts out. From there, the caliber, I'll be able to pry it out. Then when the caliber's sitting down here, we're going to zap this other Allen bolt out, which will allow us to separate the caliper from the caliper bracket. Okay, so I took them two bolts off. One's up here, one's right there, and I actually slid the whole thing down. So now I can get my impact in that hole right there and get that 10mm Allen bolt out. So I'm going to do that right now, and then I'm going to separate the caliper from the caliper bracket. Okay, so we got the caliper bracket off. Got our caliper hanging there. So my next step is I'm going to take this tool here and I'm going to push these pistons back so we can start getting ready for the new pads. Okay, so the pistons push back on the caliper. My next step, since we're replacing a rotor, is I usually take a hammer, something like this. You can tap on the front, or on this one you can also tap the back, because it doesn't matter if you damage the rotor because we're putting a new one on there. So I'm going to go ahead and start tapping on this thing and replace this rotor. Okay, so we got the new rotor on there. I just tapped it off. It's pretty easy. You can clean the hub with a die grinder. I usually use something like that. From now we're going to go over here to the caliper bracket. So what I usually do is I'll just pop them off. Then I'll take a wire brush and clean all these areas real well. Clean that. Then I got my brake lube. So those Allen head bolts, you want to stick some of that brake lube on there. And yeah, we're going to get ready to go back together here in a second. Okay, from here, I'm going to have this bracket sitting on a rotor, but it's actually sitting low below that leaf spring. Because I'm going to mount the pads on there, hold it with my hand, and then I'm going to start the top Allen bolt and tighten it up before I actually slide this into place. So it's a little tricky, but let's start with putting the pads on first. I got the pads on, I'm holding it. Now I'm going to take this caliper, stick it on here, and I'm going to start that top Allen bolt that goes right there, tighten that up all the way, and then from there I'll slide the whole thing up and put the two 24mm caliber bolts in. Okay, I got that top Allen bolt tight. This is the hardest part of the job. And then after you know, it sits down like this, and you gotta slide it up into position. So once you get it in position, you can't get a socket up there. So the key is sliding this whole thing downward so you can get a socket and an impact or a ratchet. And you tighten that top one up all the way. And then from here, we'll put the caliper bracket bolts in up top there, 224 millimeters. And then I'll finish with the Allen on the bottom. And we'll be good to go. Okay, so I put this 24 millimeter caliper bracket bolt on, tightened it. Same down here. That one right there, that's tight. Now the last one we got to put in is this 10 millimeter Allen bolt, which is down here. I'll lubricate it, stick that in there, tighten that up. Then we'll put the boots back in. The boots, they pop in. There's a little groove in there. It's kind of easy. Once you pop the boots back in there, then you're good to go. Okay, so we got this brake job done. It's not an easy one for the average person, but I got the boots back in there. Bolts are tight. Got that boot back in there, covering up the Allen. Got the new pads in there, new rotor. Yeah, I just wanted to give my tips on how I do it. You got to pay attention. There's also a rubber boot in between the caliper and the bracket. Sometimes that falls off, so you got to make sure that's not falling off and it lines up to the caliper threads. So it might take you a few times to do this, but you can get it. You just got to keep the whole assembly low when you're trying to get that top caliper Allen bolt tightened up. But this is yeah, quick video on how to do it. I'm Jerry from All Phase Auto. If you like the video, give me a like, give me a subscribe. I appreciate it. And until the next one, I'll see y'all again.